Okay, yeah, good. Let's start and on this wish concert of Verena's ankle and my proposal on mobility stability pattern on specific joints. And this fits perfectly because normally in this approach joint by joint, where we start on the ground, the ankles are the first construction site. And maybe this little explanation about joint by joint. Actually, this is something. This is just designed by me with a background that. Hello, Dani. With the background that everything that actually is in the relationship between grown-ups and children, that most of the stuff is really completely turned around. That means that whatever children start with the conditional possibilities of mobility, endless mobility, we start with a grave stability problem. That means tension and being restricted. So that's the first thing, that it's completely diverging. And the second is that the ankles are actually the last joint that is loaded fully in a little child. And that means it comes last with being put on with stability. And for the grown-ups, again, it would be one of the parts that is very, very tight because of not using it or static positions like standing or sitting, as well as not going into environments where ankle mobility is really, really needed. And this is also something where we can start first because ankle mobility is something that is very simple and also very compensation-free accessible. Compensation-free means that the lying positions are the positions where for grown-up it's the optimal position to start with mobility work because of the fact that in lying we have least gravitational forces and least tension in joints. And the less tension we have, the easier it is to access mobility. Yeah. And through the course of getting up, we can load, for in this case, the ankle with more load to emphasize or intensify the mobility work. Yeah. Is it okay? So it's a bit of a contradictional approaches in children and grown-ups. And the nice, easy thing is that it's completely the other Vorzeichen, verdrehte Vorzeichen. What's the English translation, Verena, please?
I don't know Vorzeichen, but it's like in mathematics you have like plus and minus in front of a number, and this is like would be a Vorzeichen. And when you kind of flip it around, it gets different meanings.
Right. So what is present in children as a plus is a big minus in grown-ups. Yeah. And that's quite a simple calculation, right? So it's not very complicated. Good. Okay, then let's start with the MSP approach in a bit of more detail. MSP approach is a very rough pattern. Most of the other guys who know the old certification curriculum know that MSP are conditional factors, and that's just 3. And let's say that's the 3 key conditional factors that can be differentiated in finer conditional factors, which then sums up to about 18 or 19. That's for later. But if you focus on mobility, stability, and pattern, we have more than enough for beginning. So okay, that's the first one. Let's start with mobility. That's the starting thing. Everybody clear about this? I call it like a principle. It's also a principle like developmental milestones, like the neurodevelopment sequence, as well as the natural skill development. These are basic principles of development of humans, and the MSP approach is one of them. The one it's not like this big stages of a child is starting on the ground and ending somewhere upright, which is seeable. The same is like the natural neurodevelopment sequence, where the brain is growing while movement is evolving. MSP is something that is happening in locations like joints and muscles and fascia. So this is a bit of a secret stuff happening in the rough patterns we can observe. Okay, mobility is the unrestricted movement of a joint, dependent on muscle tension, or also fascia stiffness, or I would not say weakness, but softness. That means before we work on mobility, it would be wise to get restrictions out of muscles like tense muscles. Yeah, so it makes more sense to start with flexibility and use the flexibility on a better range of motion in a joint, than work on range of motions in a joint and then expect the connecting muscles getting softer. This makes not that much sense, because if you say you have muscles that, okay, spanning one joint, we call it that there's more this category of local stabilizers. And we have muscles that are spanning 2 joints minimum. And if you're just working on one joint, there is so much possibility for muscle that getting stretched out of its tight position without any improvement, because you're just working on one end and the other one is still, and you're just stretching one part of it, and the rest of it gets no attention at all. So it makes sense to stretch a muscle from both ends. And if there's a bit more softness in it, you can access then whatever joint you are working on. Okay, so if you ever heard about foam rolling, or if you ever heard about myofascial release, that this could be also the first thing where you say, okay, wait. Okay, there is a fixed point of a muscle. You stretch it like this, and then there are parts of the muscle that are weak. They stretch anyway, and there are parts of the muscles that are tight. They are compensated by the weak or by the stretchy parts. They stay tight, and the ones who are soft bring the softness. And in the end, you have a length increase, but tight parts haven't been addressed. Now, so if you're extending a muscle from both sides, the probability that it gets more length in its parts in between is higher, but still maybe not enough. There are still parts that are tight, and if you stretch, parts that are not tight take over the stretching result. So what we need is softness of a muscle in its whole length. And softness in muscles are not just in muscles, it's also in fascia. And fascia is not, there's the muscle and there's the fascia, it's all interconnected. Actually, fascia is the stuff that is packaging everything from cells to our whole form. And it means you are not stretching necessarily the muscle itself, you are stretching the fascia anyway. It's always fascia, as much as I know. Because it's the same. It's just the package and the thing that is packaged. And if you want to stretch the packaged thing, you have to stretch the package, and the other way around. Good. So this was the cue into foam rolling. There is a bit of a border in natural movement, differentiating itself from manual therapy or whatever approach into details. And in my conviction, there is some stuff that needs to be addressed by someone who is an expert and has knowledge about details, and has also the tools to get into details. Details means something that is out of order or dysfunctional due to a lifestyle problem or an injury or whatever. Something you cannot, you're not responsible for it. So, okay, there's an expert for it. Let him do his job. But as soon as you can take the job over by caring yourself, we can integrate it into the sphere of ground movements or natural ground movements or the whole HMR approach. And I think something like foam rolling, like self-massage or whatever, is something that is part of it, that self-care without the reason that there is something really already an injury or a decay on something. It's just you feel your body has a specific part is tight because you were running yesterday or you were crashing with your thigh into an obstacle, and there's a blue part and it's a bit of tight and you need to activate it again so blood circulation can come in. There's a lot of stuff you can do by yourself. And something like foam rolling, myofascial release is a very, very simple tool. And okay, so this is where I would like to start with myofascial release. Not into detail, but as good as possible. So I'll show you the stuff. We start with the ankle, and I'll show you what we can do there with the ankle, and then we continue with the mobility, stability, and pattern continuum. So actually, the rough tools is something like this, a wooden stick, something like this, or a lacrosse ball, or something like this, a golf ball, the hardest thing you can find. That doesn't penetrate too deep into you. It's a bit too small for this, but just to give you an idea, and a foam roll for sure. Okay, so now the question is, what can you do in the respect of an ankle? Yeah. Okay, you know enough about the anatomy of an ankle. I'm not sure. I also don't go into details. Just the basic structure of the foot. So everybody except Sylvia, not too deep, knows the MSC approach. That means the mobility, stability, continuum. Have you ever read or heard about this, Sylvia? Just to get a... Yeah, okay, fantastic. So, Sylvia, some whatever you want to...
No.
Good. Okay, so you know the MSC approach already a bit. Also, this super little story, there's an mobility stability continuum model from Michael Boyle and Functional Movement Systems Gray Cook, which is my inspiration. But while working through the natural ground movement, theory and practice, it had to change into makes much more sense now. Yeah, I haven't talked to Gray Cook and Michael Boyle about it, about what they did and what I did. Hopefully, I get this chance. But there are massive differences, as well as there's a lot of expansion on my side in it. So let's just go for the lower joints. So the knee joint is a stability-prone joint. It has little ranges of motion except flexion and tension, but actually it needs to be stable. Let's say 80% of its job is being stable. 20% is being mobile. That means able to getting out of alignment, able to compensate if the environment is not a laboratory, but a real off-road adventure. Yeah? Your knee has to be adaptable. A little bit, not too much, not too little. We go downstairs. Downstairs comes the ankle itself. So it's just this part. It's actually it's called the upper Sprunggelenk in German. It's obere Sprunggelenk, upper jumping joint. We have a lower jumping joint and an upper jumping joint. We don't need to differentiate that because the ankle in itself in this area inside here is a very flexible one, right? A very a mobile one. It can rotate, it can flex, it can extend, it can supinate and pronate. The heel itself is not a joint. It is called a fulcrum. It has the characteristic of being stable. The heel itself, that's super stable. It just like the knee, it is just transferring energy over this fulcrum. So this part stands for stability. The mid leg is compromised out of a lot of little bones. There is 5 metatarsale bones. So this part in between here is prone into mobility. It can be turned like this, like the middle hand. It has the possibility to bend, and it is dependent on a lot of different joints that can adapt to the environment, like gripping. The balls here, again, this part is stability prone, and the toes are mobility prone. So there's a neighbor to neighbor mobility stability continuum even into the finger and toe joints. So this continuum goes through the whole body without any exception. Actually, we have different joints. One bit are a bit less mobile than others, but as a general phenomenon, this stability MSC thing goes through the whole body. And this is how we treat. This is how we start. We need this information to be able to know how can we influence one of these joints by approaching them also through the neighbors. Yeah. So we start with mobility, and we start with myofascial release on the parts in between the joints that have structure like muscles and fascia that could be softer than they may are. Okay, so the plantar fascia here, right, can be messaged like this. Yeah, maybe there are people who find some stuff that is already aching, but normally people start to get problems when they get some pressure like this. Okay, so this is the first thing I would do if I would have an ankle mobility problem or any problem in the ankle. I would go for releasing the neighboring muscle and fascia to improve the flexibility, which then in turn improves the mobility of the joint. Okay, so this is one you can roll, you can step on it, whatever. This is a very good exercise because you have also very fast feedback on is it too sensitive or not. There are people who cannot stand on something like this. That means the fascia is tight as hell. You should be able to walk over something like this with just a feeling of a pressure, but not the feeling of pain. And that's the difference. Fascia always need a feeling of pressure, but they should not be painful. And that's a big difference. Because there is another possibility, and that means there is no pressure at all. They feel soft. And fascia should not feel soft, because fascia need to be tight to a specific degree to be able to generate elastic forces. If fascia are too weak, they cannot generate elastic forces. If they are too tight, also they need a specific consistency. And I would say, from my experience, it feels like a pressure, as already said, but not painful. Okay, there are very characteristic parts you can try to foam roll. One is the latissimus here, and one is this part. And they should feel challenging in a normal state. If they feel super painful, that means you're getting on this roll and you start crying. You cannot force yourself back into nose breathing or into a smile. The stuff is too tight. If you don't feel any pressure at all, the stuff is too loose. And just this little story, the trainers 10 years back who made their weekend or one day foam roll introduction with a black roll or whatever, they let the people foam roll every muscle as long as they were all soft. And what happened were knee problems, hip problems, and venen problems, what's called?
It's the same as veins.
Veins. Yeah, so you know what I mean. If you're rolling on veins that are already sacking something like this, they had the problem that the ventils that are normally standing up like this were flopping like this because they were rolling in the wrong direction. And then there was the information: if someone has a connective tissue problem, you should always roll just upwards and not downwards. And this happened after 2 or 3 years of problems after problems with trainers letting people roll the hell out, the shit out of them, and then the problems happened. So this makes no sense. Fascia need a specific tension, otherwise they cannot produce elasticity. Okay, so first was, as said, you can go with the fascia on your with a stick on the plantar fascia, and you can go with a whatever foam rolling thing into the calf, as well as into something like the Achilles tendon. Now, the Achilles tendon is connected over the heel to the plantar fascia. It means that is one connected fascial tissue, and is not stopping there and starting there. It's getting from the big toe up to the fontanella. It's all connected. It means if you want to release the calf fascia, for example, in muscles, you also need to add the plantar fascia, as well as the hamstrings. As well as, maybe a side information is that fascia is also getting through the body from switching sides inside joints. That means that fascia comes up like in this part, and if let's say you have a problem in the calf, then you work on the plantar fascia, and then you work also on the front part, because fascia also runs like crossing in joints. So the fascia is maybe on top of the foot, gets through the ankle to the back, comes through the front to the knee, goes through the front of the thigh backwards into the glute part. Yeah, so we have different fascia lines, and they all have a bit of different connections. There are crossing ones, there are side ones, there are deep ones, there are superficial ones. This is an interesting topic if you want to get into a bit of a deeper insight into mobility work, by getting an idea about the fascial system, to also have the tools to release these. Good. So after releasing the plantar fascia and after releasing Achilles tendon calf area with a foam roll, you go into stretching. Simple stretching. Stretching of the calf. Two possibilities. One is this movement. So the knee is just flexed. That means the backside of the calf. The calf itself is not extended over the knee joint, but there is one muscle, it's called soleus inside here, which is can just be stretched if the knee is flexed and the ankle is flexed. So if I do this movement, it could be that I'm working on this soleus muscle inside here, as well as just the mobility of the ankle. If I want to include the calf, I need to extend the knee. So the calf muscle is also stretched, and I can add more stretch by increasing the ankle joint. Yeah. Okay, then. So that's the back side. We also have the front side, right? On the front side, we have just this important muscle. That's the tibialis anterior. Can also be rolled. Also, people have problems foam rolling this one. And an easy exercise foam rolling it would be something like this. Just getting this part a bit softer. Did you ever experience tightness in this tibialis anterior? Do you know what it's good for? Do you know what the problem is with this muscle? Anybody?
Sometimes had it that when starting squatting that I would kind of feel that it's tight. But like
Goody
in the very,
right?
but like in the beginning, like the more my body got used to it, the more this muscle also released and adapted.
Okay, so this muscle is mostly here for lifting the toes and lifting the foot. Like this. This just is lifting. Yeah, this is done by the front side here. Okay, and due to modern environments, the lift of the foot is not longer necessary because of flat ground. That means when you're in nature, for example, you are in high grass, whatever, or stepping on uneven ground, your body has also the reflex to lift toes by not crashing into something like this. Yeah, because modern shoes are responsible for the degeneration of all muscles that are lifting the toes and lifting the foot. And people who are deconditioned and start walking very bit too far, or also running, get massive problems in this toe lifting muscle because he's out of order and then completely overused by something like this. So this muscle can be tight and short because of no usage, and also should be a bit of foam rolled or getting softer. Because the next thing, or let's add one more thing. So we have the stretching of intermediate muscles and structure. And in a normal stretching class, you also stretch mostly just one direction, but we have actually 360 direction. It means if you start stretching, try to stretch in a bit different angles. That means also a rule of thumb for stretching the calf muscle is that when you are doing this stretch with this extended, that the foot is a bit inward rotated like this, and then you stretch forward. In this inward rotated position, the pull on the Achilles tendon and calf is higher than if you have this outward rotated and then bring it down. Yeah. So this is evading the stretch. This is intensifying the stretch. Right? Evading the stretch, intensifying the stretch. But let's say the basic function, the aligned function, where the foot is in this position, stretches the most part of the muscle. And if you then rotate your foot a little bit, other parts of the muscles are stretched or other muscles are stretched. That means you should always, when you stretch a muscle, try to rotate the joint a bit to get the effect of the stretch to as much tissue as possible, and not just on the main highway, but also on the side streets. Yeah. So this is as said in the calf. For the front part, we have this. This is already a stretch. There are a lot of people. We have people with the problem of squatting, and we have people with the problem of basic kneeling. They cannot kneel. They have tightness like here, and they kneel like this. So that's part of the joint, but this is also then transferring to the length of the muscles that are necessary. So you should be able to be like this, and there is also one that is natural relaxed position, and there is one unnatural and necessary for the stretch. So if you are normally kneeling, you are this really nice little bowl. Your butt gets inside this opened heels, and you can sit really like in a little Sitzschale. If you really want to stretch the front part, you need to work like this. Yeah? You need to bring your feet aligned, so not like this, but like this. And then you have a better effect on the mobility and stretch in the main corridor again. And stretching could look also like this. Just go, leaning back and bringing up the knees like this. So there should be a bit of a room of play here, so these feet are getting a bit overextended. Yeah. I don't know whether there is a yoga posture, something like this, but you can also get down like this. Yeah, I think there's a yoga pose, right, Verena?
Yeah, but you would have the feet to the outside of your hips, so like this.
So the closed band sit. Right.
Yeah, more like a closed band sit. But the other way, also, like, let's say people are very tight. You could be lying on your back and your feet are in the air, and then like just point the feet. And then already people with like very tight front part here, if they point the feet, this already gets stretched.
Yeah, okay, good. Good. Okay, so that would be the front side and the back side, and that's the most important because the main movement of the foot is flexion and extension. Yeah, that means if you want to stretch muscles, you have to work where the range of motion is biggest, and muscles can be pulled. Okay, so that's the two-part stretching, the stretching things, flexibility, and then comes the mobility. And let's go for the possibilities in the developmental sequence. So I said you can start in lying position and do the one thing I started once was trying to get the fingers between the toes, for example. So, something like this. I'm super tight here. But I worked on it, and it was able to bring five fingers straight between the toes. And what is happening is that this is getting opened. It means the 5 metatarsal bones inside are getting they can be very tight like this, and you can try to open them up a bit. That could affect your balance because the base of support is bigger. And it also affects the mobility of the foot itself when you do something like this. Okay, that's very simple possibility in the evening, whatever, watching a bad movie. The next thing is that you start to mobilize your ankle like this. You can rotate it. You can supinate it like this. You can pronate it like this. So this is the compensation-free work on the mobility. Okay, so this is supine line. Then let's see what we can do in prone line. But there is actually no effect except something like this. Just trying to shake them out is a possibility to mobilize them. Okay, then we are getting into the sitting position. And in the sitting position, we have this classic, I think there's just one little sequence. If you know this sequence, it's completely sufficient to work on ankle mobility. It's the kneeling sitting flow. That's the only abbreviation of this one. So you have the open half bend sit and work yourself into open half kneeling. And along this asymmetric position covers two mobility aspects. In the different direction on both sides. Yeah? So in the front one, I work on flexion, while on the back one, I work on extension. Also in exactly what I said, not just this natural position here, but also in the one I said before that the ankle is extending and not in this relaxed inward position. You really roll over the extended foot like this into alignment. And if you now combine this, so this is, I try to tell you the terms. So this is on this side we have a supinated foot, extended pronated, flexed, loaded, flexed, loaded, pronated, extended, supinated, flexed. Okay, so you go 360 in the complete outskirts of the foot. You have two possibilities in this. Just to give you the, you can go from squat into open half bend sit. From here again into squat. So that's the squat translation. Or you can go into, from here, into the open half bend sit translation. The difference is when somebody has more the extension problem, then you go over the open half bend sit or basic kneeling transition. If someone has a flexion problem, you go over the deep squat variation. Okay, so you can switch one transition with the other transition just by where is the main problem. Okay, most people will have the main problem in the flexion. So the deep squat would be a good goal, deep squat variation. Okay, so this is sitting. There is already load on it. Means body has already stability, needs stability, which is a bit working against the mobility part. If mobility is the emphasis, you need as little as possible stability. But in the end, you need both. That means you should be able to establish most of the stuff already in this sitting position, sitting kneeling area. And if your limit of mobility is established, then you should include this mobility in the higher or more loaded positions, because we need in the same way stability then, and not just always sticking on the mobility side. Okay, so we go the whole get up sequence up. Okay, the same pattern can be done now in kneeling. Yeah. So what we do is and what we now include more is the knees. Yeah. The knees were mobile here, included in the ankle work. Yeah. When we have flexed joints, we can work on mobility of the joints. The more they extend, the less mobility they have. Now they get more into a stability prone movement. So what you do is you go into this little sequence. Yeah. So we have the flexion here. Then you go into pronation. You go into supination, into extension. You go into supination like this. Okay. What you can do now is that you when you go over like this, you press with the forefoot in the ground. So my knee is not touching. Yeah, I'm pressing with the forefoot in the ground, so I still always have the leverages working on this part. Yeah, when I'm kneeling like this, there's almost no force in it or no load. If I have not the knee as a point of support, but the foot as a point of support, I can put on much more pressure. So this about the same sequence as before would look in a kneeling position like this. Okay, and now we can sort of, yeah, just go for it, go for it. Yeah, so you don't use this knee as a point of support, yeah? Everything is here, 80% or 90%, 10% is on this foot. So you can have a force, a leverage onto this foot mobility. Okay, now we can do the same in standing. Yeah. So first of all, you can do all this mobility drills like before in sitting, pronation, supination, flexion, and on the back extension, flexion on the front, extension in the back. The same can be done now in standing with much more stability. So the mobility effect is a bit of receding, and the stability effect comes more and more in. So you have the very basic pronation, supination, yeah, flexion and extension, as well as the rotation. Yeah. So try to rotate the foot with it's actually the point of support, the dynamic point of support is circulating over the stability part of the foot, the base joints of the toes. So you have the most effect, leverage onto the target, and that's the ankle. Yeah, so you would do something like this. Yeah, so I'm walking around my foot to bring it always into the necessary leverage work. Yeah, there's one situation that may look a bit strange. That's this one. Because most people have this hallux valgus thing, and exactly if you go over like this, then you're working into the valgus position, into the hallux position. So this may be a bit painful, but I think it's not a big problem if someone who has a hallux valgus working into this direction for just a moment, or you can just skip over this little section. Okay, and so this is all just centered on the ankle now. All the movements are centered on getting this 360 approach on the ankle. Now we can take some get-ups and also some positions that can be now defocusing a bit from the ankle. So focusing more on this get up or these transitions or positions themselves, but the ankle mobility is happening passively. That means if you have somebody who had an ankle problem, you have broken the ankle mobility up to a specific degree that it's good to leave it like this, no extra work into the ankle. But now you are introducing just some get-ups or some ground transitions that still include this ankle mobility, but not as a focus, but just as a byproduct. So you can keep the performance of your ankle on that height with less time investment. Yeah. So, for example, all the get-ups that are going frontally over the heel as the fulcrum and the flexion, which is the most problem for the people. So it's just bend sit and then getting with a hand support forward into the deep squat, getting forward into a high hip position, and then getting up into a single leg stance, for example. It would be a sequence that is introducing just the ankle flexion, the calf flexibility, and the basic stability of the ankle. Okay, so this would be one possibility to go for the main proposed, that's the flexion of the ankle. Another one I said would be this one in the extension of the ankle. This would be a get up like this: extension, flexion, single leg stance. Flexion, extension, rest. So now you can also focus on the ankle while doing the whole movement. Another one would be the open bend sit and the closed bend sit get-ups. So you would start in this supinated position, would help yourself into the deep squat and coming up. So working on the outside of the ankles. The same would be in a pronated position like this. I can just do this movement, for example. So that's flexion and pronation. Okay, and to have again 360 thing, there is the possibility we have the cross sit get up with a 360 rotation up and down. Okay, I just show you the perfect form, which needs a lot of supinated stability. So it's the cross sit get up, it's turning around and coming down. Okay, so there is very little mobility, but a lot of stability in, because it has to carry my whole weight. If I reduce my weight, I can emphasize more mobility. For example, a bigger base of support gives me more stability. I can work more on mobility. So this full cross closed bend sit, I'm working on the back foot. I focus on the back foot, but this one is getting again into the whole circle. Now this is the one is ended on the upside. Now the second one comes on the downside. Okay, so when I go up, this one is moved around, and this one just goes into flexion. And when I come down, the chops are switching. Okay, when I want less load, I can start here, the same, but I don't get up vertically, upright, aligned. I crawl in a circular manner around and focus on my ankles again. So this would be this little sequence. Okay, you can still press my foot into all the directions. One thing about the knee, as you see, that the knee has to work also a lot. The more I work on the mobility of the ankle, also the more the knee has to work, but just in the lower positions. So whenever my knees are bent and I work on the ankles, my knees also get a mobility aspect. The more I stand up and the more my knees are getting extended, the less my knees are getting affected by the mobility because they are getting stabilized due to the extension of the joint. No? Okay, and the last ones I would like to do is the walking stuff. So we would have stepping over, stepping under, stepping up, and stepping down for knee mobilization. Yeah, so for stepping over, we actually just have the stability of the foot. So it's the single leg stance like this. Okay, that's should be at the end of your session or at the end of the treatment of the ankle where there's just stability. When we go with mobility, we have the possible to have the flexion and a bit of a supination and pronation thing by stepping under like this. You can really try, especially if you have a load with you, if you load yourself with 10 or 15 kilograms, the pressure into the flexion of the ankle is getting even more. So you're doing this movement. With additional load helps. You can do all the movements down like this with additional load and you get one millimeter of more range of motion. In stepping up and down, just simulate to something like this. So when you step up on something, you also shift your body weight forward like this. So your center of gravity is getting over the base of support. And then strength brings you up. Stepping up like this. And stepping down would be the same. So in stepping down, you also need a crazy ankle flexibility to bridge the gap downwards. The back leg is the supporting one, needs mobility, and the front leg that is actually reaching for the ground starts with, so as soon as you touch the ground, it's starting with stability. So you always have both sides in the other direction. Okay, and then what I would also do in standing is something like this, that you are really, this is a bit too high. If you also walk stuff like this. In a supinated position, force yourself.
We can't see your feet.
Huh?
We cannot see your feet.
Sorry. Yeah. Something like this. Yeah. Force yourself into the accident. Something like this. Walk in the extreme positions that your foot can do or can get into if you are in a supination trauma. Placing yourself into a supination trauma situation would also be a possibility. Yeah, pronation is always a bit problematic. Supination is much easier. Yeah, but both needs to be trained, and both needs to take the knees into respect because they have to carry a lot of, or they have to compensate a lot what the ankles cannot do. Okay, I forgot one, the big toe thing. Yeah. So this would be a stretching position for the plantar fascia. Yeah. So this could be integrated in the kneeling positions, something like this. And if you do this would be just mobility work. And then you can add immediately stability work. Stability, mobility, just mobility. Okay, so this little sequence for adding again the deep squat with the mobility. So this little sequence is covering a lot of stuff in the aligned directions. Okay, that would be about the repertoire of ground movement centered ankle work. Any feedback, any questions, any additions? Verena, it was your wish. What do you say?
Well, the thing is that I'm doing this, but I still notice that my feet are still like pronating.
Okay, so it's getting a bit deeper in this, I think. So it can be problem of it can be the whole problem up to the hips, knees, and to the feet with a stability. That means so the normal approaches on collapsing of the foot arc is actually what we're already talking about the toga stuff, also with this
Grabbing.
How it's called?
It's like grabbing with your toes.
Grabbing with the toes, yeah, or trying to move a towel or something backwards. This is also something artificially what can be part of a natural approach by being more barefoot in very rough terrain. I think this would be the only possibility to get into the details by confronting yourself with very complex environments. And if you would go onto a field that is just the piece was there and was turning around the upper part of this what's a field?
Field.
Of just a field where he wants something to grow, and it's very bumpy and very uneven. Walking with feet on something like this would help as well as whenever the ground is very rough, for example, when you're not just cannot just step on every foot without any problem, but where you always have to be careful not to slide, not to step onto something that has a sharp thing or something. Whenever your foot has to be prepared for impact or something like this. Also running, I think, would be something as a barefoot running technique would be the impact and the loading of the foot, not just like walking. It's said we load our foot with just one chi, so 1 time our body weight. In running, you load the foot on 2 chi. That means 2 times our body weight. And this would also urge your foot arch to build up again, as long as it's not too much. And that's the interesting thing. If you do too little, nothing happens. And if you do too much, you make it even worse. It means you need exactly the feedback of your feeling when it's the right dosage. Yeah, so I know you expected some magic, whatever. Oh, I guess you expected it, but that's just the whole thing. Natural movement could add into this, and I think if this is doesn't feel that immediate effective, that's also the thing. You have to neutralize the months and years that led you into the problem somehow naturally. Then it takes the same time with a bit of knowledge and an experience. But if you want to have it fixed quicker, then something like the toga is it's a bit unnatural movements, but they are doing an isolated job that may also or can also be integrated directly. It means you just add them on. And I would add them on before the natural movement stuff is happening. So before you start with the lying on your back and working on your ankle, I would go for the more even more into detail stuff. Well, but this was, I think, the first time we had one joint and going through all the possibilities to treat that joint. Yeah, that's even not everything, but you should be able that you are that you know my ankle needs stability, and how can I access natural stabilization exercises. And I'm still working again on trying to describe everything, but I'm still, it makes no sense to describe everything into detail. There's still this basic principles, and you, with your practice and with the understanding of the basic principles, you should be able to get into some stuff without being told, but by just understanding how it is. Maybe one test for you. How could you increase ankle stability work? There's one kind of exercises I did not show, which are actually increasing ankle stability. Or let me say like this: you can work on each of the conditional factors, mobility, stability, or pattern, in different intensities, and also in what you know. We have the local stabilizers, we have the global stabilizers, we have the global movers, and you can also say, I would like that my local stabilizers work first before global stabilizers work. Global stabilizers are very rough muscles and big muscles that just can do rough jobs. But if you need fine regulation, and this is maybe also the key to unlocking mobility, as we have repeated very often, your body does not let you access mobility if it doesn't feel safe. So you need a mixture of an exercise that is giving both on a level that is not doing too little and not too much. And when we are in a standing position on the foot and close our eyes, then there's little movement possible, and you also feel that the movement you're doing is working on the whole body. That means that maybe the load is already that much that fine regulation is not longer possible. That there's already rough regulation at work. And the question is, how could you reduce the position that the fine regulation is happening, which maybe is a much better fix to the to the mobility, the fine regulation, than the rough regulation. My conviction is that if you work on mobility, let's say you are freeing the joint and you have the 360, and then you put on fine regulation, then this 360 movement with fine regulation gets much faster competent or safer to manage than when you have a full mobility and then add rough and big muscles to bring the stability back. I think this is a bit of too far apart. There's so much fine stuff in between missing that the rough stuff maybe is again damaging or making stuff more complicated than it should be. And the question was, how could you regulate down the stabilization work? And just to give you the idea, that when, let's say I've got this mobility increase here, yeah, and I don't add the stability now by just standing on it and putting my full weight on one foot. So he has to manage stability now. It makes much more sense. So this is a stability, mobility increase, and now I go into crawling and have here also a just stability prone exercise with much or there's much more stability with much less intensity. In this position. And when you now go for something like just forward and backward or sideways or circulating, you now get also the complexity of the stability inside the ankle without the full load and the full army helping. Yeah. Okay, and that's the most important understanding. I don't know how long it takes you, and I don't know how much the material will help you in it to get really into these details. But it's no witchcraft. It's quite logic, and I'm sure if you know about the qualities of what can be done in lying, what can be done in sitting, what can be done in kneeling, what can be done in crawling and in creeping, it's just 5 basic developmental milestones as a first screen, and then if you just go into a foot hand crawl position, then think about what's going on now with me. Okay, there's mobility in the wrists, there's stability in the shoulders, there's stability in the spine, there's stability in the hips, there's stability in the knees and in the ankles. Yeah, this is nothing you need to learn. This is actually just being in a position and just start thinking what's going on now. And that's everything you need. You don't need to go into details. You don't need the insertion and the root of a muscle and a nerve and a fascia. This is nonsense. You will never work with these details. You can never work with these details. This is just sophisticated overloading for I'm a professor and I know everything and you are the scholar and you know nothing, and this is the difference between us. This is nonsense. There is a function. Try to work on the function and the body will get the effects anyway. And it doesn't matter what muscle it was or what fascia it was or what nerve it was. It's important that it works again. And when we have a guideline, we have the natural development sequence, the developmental milestones. That's the guidelines, not invented by somebody who wants a Nobel Prize, invented by 4 billion years of development. And that's the big difference. Conventional fitness is fishing in the dark, and natural movement is in full light. Everything is obvious and everything is working and everything is understandable. It's like a handy on the one side and a Wurlitzer on the other side. You know what a Wurlitzer is? Yeah. The Wurlitzer is the mechanically most complex machine ever invented before the mysterious stuff came, like the microprocessors. Yeah. So a Wurlitzer you can dissolve completely and build together completely, and a handy you cannot dissolve it, you cannot reconstruct it because you have no idea what's going on in it. And that's also the same with our body. If you treat it like natural development sequence and like developmental milestones, you will see that this is no witchcraft. If you treat it with modern fitness approach, then okay, strange stuff is going on. But what is the sense for building up one muscle? No sense. Except he was damaged. Except there's a specific reason you cannot access this muscle through electric shocks or through a very isolated usage. But as soon as it works, back to the community. Good. Okay, that's again from my side. Any thing additionally? Verena, did it help?
I think actually, like, I'm thinking a little bit about, because I didn't have a problem like most time of the year, and it just restarted like recently, and I'm just trying to like think about like what caused it maybe or made it worse again. And I'm just wondering if like restarting to walk more barefoot again probably caused it from compared in winter wearing more shoes.
You mean the contrast of
Mm-hmm.
no and yes?
Yeah, because in summer I was walking a lot around barefoot or in barefoot shoes, and then in winter I was wearing like shoes and with thicker soles. And also sometimes barefoot shoes. Like I was mixing sometimes barefoot, but then like rather a lot in like proper shoes, and then I went back to the barefoot shoes and like literally walking barefoot again outside. And I'm wondering if that probably caused it. Because yeah, as you said, like maybe the contrast was quite big.
Could be a reason. Yeah, it's just switch off and switch on, and no connecting time. Yeah, how is your connective tissue? Is it more tight or more loose? Just your general.
I think in general it's normal.
It's normal.
I mean, I know that like on the side where I have the problem, it's actually not this side, it's the other side, but it's like I have the pain here and it tends to be quite tight here.
Okay. Yeah, that's a thing for the fascia roll, for the foam roll.
Exactly. And to be honest, like I have not been rolling a lot.
Yeah, from time to time it's good.
Yeah.
To roll some hard stuff out. Yeah, the quality of your connective tissue plays a big role because you cannot do anything against it. There are people who are hypermobile. This is really hard because you cannot do anything against the hypermobility of the knees or of the elbows. I don't know, Sylvia. Do you know anybody who found
my problem?
It's also your.
And I have problems to go when I go a long time, especially in the mountains or when the underground is not stable. I have a problem with the stability.
Also, yeah. There's also a rule of thumb. Gray Cook told once, the bigger problem is hypermobility. A less big problem is hypomobility, because hypomobility or stability is something your body is always looking for. There's always plenty of, and you have, and this can also be softened by mobility work. But if you are in too much mobility, your problem, the body is not able to bring you into the stability thing because you are too much on a problematic side. All the stability doesn't help. So what would you do if? So one test for hypermobility is actually just the elbow extension, right? So if this is straight, it's normal. Yeah, and some people are really over bulging like this, and you can do nothing. You cannot strengthen your biceps to pull your elbow extension or flexion or triceps exactly to this angle. It will always bring you over this border. And you cannot stop there on the border. You can stop there by putting some artificial stop in. That can be mindfully, I don't go over this, or by whatever a surgeon put a stop sign in. Could also be a possibility. So it's easier to be rigid and tight to stretch than being very soft and to getting tight. So if you have the choice, try to be more tight. It's easier to work on than the other way around. But this also just means that you should be careful with exercises, with sports, with whatever that are forcing you into extension of stuff. I think that's the only thing, because you always need to be aware on, I need to stop here. So you're more prone to soft movements and not high intensity stuff. Yeah.
But it was a useful lesson. Thank you, Bernd. My accu is low, I hope.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So hopefully this cleared up again a lot. I think this is very important, because all the terms and principles are always swirling around, and by something like this we can fix it to a specific problem. That means okay, Verena, try to think about it. Try maybe let's try to find something that has a good combination of this detail stuff to the rough stuff, because if we are really working on something like not just joint care, which is now it's a bit of for people that don't have any grave problems but want to not get into problems. This is the joint care program is designed for. But if people have already problems and we have to go down into details like foam rolling, like softening, like maybe thinking about what have I done wrong. This could be something like a course that is now really like an ankle prevention or rehabilitation course. This would be interesting. And if you guys have again questions about specific topics, or it can be next time also, let's talk about the hip. It's easy to find some topic for a session if we just go through the joints or through muscles or whatever. Then just put it into circle or write me. Alistair.
Yeah, I was wondering, what about, just as an idea, today we discussed kind of this specific area, right? With the ankle and including the feet. What about just working our way up? Exactly like you did today, but then possibly next week with the knee. Since they are related, then it's just a easy structure to follow.
Yeah, great.
I wonder what the others think regarding that as an idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do this. So we complete this topic just through the joint to joint approach. Yeah, great idea. Let's do this. So next Tuesday is the knee time. Good. Okay. So let's close it. So you can have something from. I'm the only one who has an evening, and Sylvia. The others are in the mornings or in.
We're gonna enjoy the day.
Okay, then I wish you a wonderful evening. The recording will be put into the discussion, and let me know whenever you have some additional questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Have a great